What's going on, everyone? It's Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. This is our tournament and DFS preview for the John Deere Classic, Craig, and the Aberdeen Scottish Open. We can't ignore that one this week. Craig, what's going on? How did the Rocket Mortgage treat you?
I had a few good showdown days. Not quite putting together the full tournament long. Had some Cam Davis exposure, had some Noren exposure. Unfortunately, I did not do a very good job getting my 6 of 6s through, so it always limits your upside.
Yeah, there's low 6 of 6s. Your Noren call was great. I did follow you on that, I think, on the tiers, the DraftKings tiers, so I had Noren there. But yeah. Cam Davis, it was bittersweet for me seeing him come down, eagle birdie, and then play pretty good through the playoff. Obviously, take home the win. A guy we've been talking about really for like 10 months since we've started doing this whole thing.
Yeah, someone you're a bit of a fanboy.
Yeah, fanboy. We gush about his swing right and left. But ultimately, I mean, going back to our show last week, I kind of built up this profile of these short hitters and great putters, and he didn't fit it. So I was talking on the show last week, making a handful of lineups. I only made 2, and he didn't make it. So it was great to see him get that win, break through, but didn't have him.
Yeah, and I think he is the original guy that I always make fun of you for when you go full Moneyball scout on him. Like, man, the ball just pops off his bat.
It pops. Yeah, it's great to see. I think hopefully it just kind of unlocks a bunch for him. I kind of immediately think of like U.S. Open PGAs, long.
Well, I mean, the real thing for him, I mean, it has never been about what his... when he plays well, it's more like, can he do it for 72 holes without the mistakes? Yeah. And so we've seen him do that in that type of field now. Can he start to do that more consistently? Because the upside potential is there, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was a tweet I sent out on Sunday. It's like, when you see him do this, it's like shocking that every week he's just not at the top of these leaderboards, because it's like, he is so talented. His swing looks so good. It does remind me a little bit of like early Dustin Johnson bit.
Ooh. It's a bold claim.
It's not, I mean, it's just like the stature, the body type, the swing, long and lean and far and effortless kind of power, but not complete. Thinking back to DJ's Pebble Beach days where he got his first couple wins in the US Open, but
yeah.
He's done a lot of different things since then. He's cleaned up his game. World #1, former. Yeah, I got you.
It's a high bar.
It's a high bar.
Anyways, John Deere, Aberdeen. I guess we gotta.
No, we got a bunch of stuff. We got a bunch of stuff to do. This is our DFS podcast. This is kind of our new format. I'm sure you guys know already if you've been listening week in, week out. Craig, we said on our show last week, who's your favorite 6K guy? I was going through the comments before our show. I don't think anybody got anyone in the top 50. So we're pushing that aside. But in our comments, Peck did say he named a few people, but he did say Cam Davis as a sleeper. He wasn't in the 60s.
Not a 6K guy. Not a 6K guy.
But Peck's getting the shout out because he mentioned Cam Davis, and nobody, correct me if I'm wrong, but nobody had a 6K worth mentioning.
Yeah, and I guess that just goes to show it. If you don't want to throw a 6K out there, just throw out a bunch of other people and then hope that one of them hits,
and you'll get the shout out. Okay, we did the tiers, 10K to 6K last week. Craig, do you want to kind of a quick recap how your guys did here?
Yeah, Patrick Reed up top didn't really do great. I was hoping for a bit more, but it's never really his thing at these birdie fests. I kind of had both the 9K and 8K ranges. I was avoid/play. I had Keegan Bradley in the 9Ks and Jason Day in the 8Ks. Both of them ended up tied for 14th. I did plug them both in, so they were part of good lineups for me. Best one for me was Alex Noren 7K. I think he was 76 or 7,700 right around there. Tied for 4th, and then he wasn't in the 7Ks, but I said Mito Pereira 6K. We didn't have a price on him yet, but he was a miscut. And then my other 6K plays, we just talked about them, weren't necessarily my players of interest, but Justin Sun and John Pack, I tried to get greedy with those 63 and 61K prices. Didn't work out. Both of them missed the cut on the number.
Yeah, I think the Morikawa, Wolf, who else is in that class? And then
Hovland.
Hovland, yeah, I think that class spoiled it a little bit for us. Like, yeah, just come onto the PGA Tour and start winning, guys. Like, it's not hard. Get a major. Show up to a major, get a win. Like, maybe like Hovland, Morikawa are just like generational talents that just happen to come out in the same year. And
well, I think that's a little bit the case. You kind of have. I feel like I forget who else was in this, but JT's year as well was a good one.
Or they're just buddies growing up. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few people from that year though that kind of all came out in the same year. And anyways,
so mine wasn't great. I had Hideki up top. So I was going to talk about this in a little bit. I was against Bryson. So I was fading him. I felt like the only person in DFS that was fading him. So I got that right, but the other things I said weren't.
The pivots weren't
right. Yeah. So I had Hideki Matsuyama withdraw COVID-19 test. Hopefully he's all good for Open and Olympics. I assume he would be though, with kind of John Rahm's timeline. But
the one thing is, we've already seen Siwoo Kim and Sung Jae are not going to play in the Open. They're prioritizing the Olympics. Maybe potentially Hideki does something similar, depending on how these couple of weeks go.
Well, it is interesting in this, if we were doing multiple podcasts, maybe we will for the Open, but the Open seems very different from what the protocols of the PGA have been. So a lot of guys seem confused, like the PGA Tour guys.
And frustrated, I think. There seems to be some griping from players. And then also 32,000 fans, I think. So it's a little bit like, it seems to be things are very strict, but then conversely, 30,000 people are coming in. So
a lot of confusion. I don't think you can have that with these guys, but so Hideki withdraw. Jason Kokrak I had as my 9K guy. He's T12, had him one lineup, thankfully. 8K I had an avoid. 7K was Doc Redman, miscut there. 6K was Vaughn Taylor, miscut there. So yeah, after getting Harris English 2 weeks ago, I kind of came up blank here, and that segues to a one and done. I kind of talked on the show as like Kokrak or Doc, and I just thought, Kokrak's safer, but Doc, I don't know, his talent has kind of buying talent in recent form.
So just to break down, essentially the way we do it, we've got a 3-person one and done going with the brothers. Whoever's in the lead has to pick first, so that you can't just pick the same guy as the other ones. But so last week you were asking me if I wanted to give my one and done pick, and I picked Kokrak. And I knew at that time that it was going to be Kokrak.
At our taping. Okay.
So would you have, if you knew that I was picking him, would you have picked him to cover, or would you?
So I did a quick search on our sheet to see nobody had Kokrak, I don't think. I knew you didn't for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not really much of like just kind of matching. I kind of feel like I'm the smartest guy in the room. So I don't think that
maybe if you're into like the last couple of weeks, then I think it's like,
weeks, yeah. In the last couple of weeks, it might be a different story, but this one, I always think I can outsmart, and I definitely did not. But you got, I think, $150,000, chip away at my lead now.
Mm-hmm.
Couple grand.
Disappointing finish there from Kokrak, by the way. I was already counting on about a 500,000 paycheck, and then I don't even remember what happened, but he bogeyed the par 5. Just holes that should have been he should have been a lot closer when he was, I think, -4 through 9 holes and ended up -3 on the day. So yeah. Anyways,
ice cold putter. It seemed like the entire week.
Which, I mean, he's had a pretty hot one for this whole season.
Yeah. And then Kevin won with Matt Wolf. Kind of a bold call, I thought. Ended up T58. I'm sure he's not overly happy with that, but
I spoke to him on Thursday. He was already counting the win. So, because Wolf came out on fire to start the tournament. So he might be a little disappointed, I think.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, something else that happened this week. Our Discord link is below. We have a Discord channel. It's pretty active. Good chatter in there. A lot of good kind of this guy, that guy kind of discussion leading into the tournament, and then really fun kind of live tournament chat. But got a shout out. Baracho Burrow made a listener league kind of unofficial group tournament. I think we tried one for the US Open. Didn't quite fill, so he went smaller, put it out in Discord. If you're interested in that, go to our Discord link below. I'm sure he'll do another one, but I want to shout out Big R Gamer won that one. He had a pretty nice lineup. Quickly, he had Neiman, Kokrak, Higo, Doc Redman, Miscut, Kazire, and Merritt, Troy Merritt. So he had Neiman and Merritt. Didn't get the win, but he got the win there. So good lineup there. I also want to point it out because there was 16 entries, 1-6. I came 16th, and 15th doubled my score. Craig,
did you say you had a 0 for 6?
I had 0 for 6. I don't think I've ever had that, even making 20 offs. I only made 2. My other one cashed nicely in a GBP. That was fine. But this one is just like a comedy of errors. So real quick, Webb Simpson, miscut. Hideki Matsuyama, withdraw. Brendan Todd, miscut on the number like Webb. Or no, Webb wasn't on the number. Doc Redmond, miscut. Vaughn Taylor, miscut. Denny McCarthy, miscut. 0 for 6. I'm the laughing stock.
Yeah. You just gotta prove them wrong. Prove them wrong next week, I guess.
Well, I like, how long can I ride this Harris English pick? I gotta move on. I gotta move on. Either get some this week or maybe for the Open. Try not to peak too early. Just, top 5.
Yeah, I think it's really next week you want to peak.
Yeah. Okay. Should we put Rocket Mortgage to bed? Move on to this week.
Yeah.
2 tournaments: John Deere Classic, Aberdeen Scottish Open. Craig, just to give you a quick kind of glimpse, this is kind of interesting, I thought. Kind of 2 statistics on each. So John Deere Classic, we have 5 players inside the top 50 in the world playing. So 5 of 50. But on DraftKings DFS, we have $15 GPP entry with $200K to first in DraftKings. So big, normal PGA Tour entry. Hop over to the pond, Aberdeen Scottish Open, 18 players in the top 50, including world number 1, world number 3, a lot of guys in the top 10. And then over there, in DraftKings, we only have a $10 $20K to first DK contest. So it's kind of interesting. Someone's going to play the John Deere and take home $200K. But I think if you're prepping, especially if you're prepping and want to watch guys for the Open, Aberdeen Scottish Open is where you want to have most of your interest, at least your eyes, this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things. I think that there's so much of the DraftKings participation. It is from the States. And so you get, even though, like, until you get to the Open Championship, the field really doesn't matter because people aren't going to watch it. Like, the timing of when it is aired, maybe they'll catch the little bit in the morning or at night, but it's just the timing is tough for people to follow it. And so it just ends up not being as popular. But that said, I'm probably as excited about the Scottish Open as I am about the John Deere, if not more.
Oh, yeah, I think I am without doubt. I guess, should we hop into the John Deere first and then have the Scottish Open second here?
Yeah, maybe like a little appetizer and
that we're calling Scottish Open the entree. Okay.
Well, I was just going right from appies to dessert, but
what are we eating? This metaphor has gone completely.
We don't eat. Well, what, you got vegetables with your meal? I'm saying let's just get some wings. We'll get some.
Tapas, sharesies.
Yeah, tapas and dessert.
Sharesies. John Deere Classic. It's at TPC Deere Run. It's been there since 2000, I believe. Par 71, 7,200 yards. It wasn't played last year. Recent history. I was just about to pull it up. I think we have Dylan Fratelli. I want to say Michael Kim. Craig, do you have it available?
Yep, Michael Kim. I don't have 2017. I only have people who are in the field. 2017 winners not in the field, so I don't know who that was. 2016 was Ryan Moore. But yeah. So, and then just real quick.
Oh, it was Bryson, 2017.
Oh yeah. Okay.
There we go. All of them. I mean, Bryson was only 18 under, but the last 6, I want to say at least, all 20 under or lower. So it is low scoring. Birdie fest. I mean, easy for these guys just to kind of rip this course apart.
Yeah. I mean, typically that's the case. It's also, it's one of these ones, and it was the same way I think at the Rocket Mortgage, where because it makes it harder to predict when these birdie fests happen.
Absolutely,
you're not doing the same filtering of players that you see at hard courses, at major championship setups. So it really brings anyone into play because got to make a lot of birdies.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, going into this, general strategies, thoughts, are you going to do kind of one lineup and leave it? Are you going to, are you thinking high-low? Are you thinking, shotgun kind of spray? Are you looking at accuracy, power, putting? Oh, you just want guys that tick every single box.
Yeah, tick all the boxes, I say. No, I likely am going to go with a bit of a high-low, I guess. I like a few of I think I'll probably... So right up top is Berger. I think he's kind of the biggest name, the pedigree of the field. I think I'll probably avoid him just because I think that will cause people who want kind of the safe stud type player to play. I think
you could argue the only real star.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that sort of lineup build will concentrate on him. So I think what I'm going to do is to look at a few, potentially put in a couple other high guys and then go low, because I do think that you don't need to just look at the top. I think this type of course presents itself so that so many people have a chance.
Yeah, and I think, going back to last week as well, it's we talked about it last week. DraftKings has to kind of play to their salary template, right? So they need to fill it out however they think. If you think someone's priced wrong, like go with your gut. Build kind of blind if you're able to do that with whatever you're building with. Anyone absolutely can win. Leave salary on the table if you want to get really weird in these big GPPs. But looking at it, I'm going to kind of have a mixed bag. The one thing I would say, looking for guys probably a little bit more accurate, probably some more history, probably leaning, because it's kind of, guys maybe on, if you're thinking of a bell curve on the early parts of the career or maybe the late parts of the career, I'm probably leaning more late parts, the Zach Johnsons, the Strickers, those veterans rather than, the Suhs, the Packs, that type of player.
Yeah, I would say the thing that I really agree with the accuracy thing. If you look at people who have been successful here over the years, the fit seems to be accuracy. So, even a guy like Sung Jae, who's the second most expensive guy in the field, you have to like the fit. I don't necessarily know if I'm getting there myself. I would say actually the person right after him, if we want to jump into our players of interest.
Okay, so before that, we're not going to do each tier because we're doing two tournaments. We're going to do a high, we're going to do a low, and we'll probably chat around a little bit. So you talked about Sung Jae or Daniel Berger, Sung Jae Im, player of interest. I feel like he's coming up next.
Next guy for me, Brian Harman. 10,400. He's third most expensive. To me, it's a combination. He's played well at the event. He was a winner here in 2014. He's another top 10. He has 5 top 26s in 7 starts here. So he's played well. I think it's a good course fit. His form is good coming in. I feel like I bring up Brian Harman all the time, so I can kind of rehash it. Essentially, he's coming off a 5th, 19th, 8th missed cut at the PGA Championship. Top 20, top 20, top 20, top third at the Players. So it's just, he's been so consistent. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he popped off for a win, but even if not, I think he just, the chances of him being in the top 10 are so high to me that I love the value. Maybe someone else in your lineup wins, and he's the cruisy 4th place that you need to have in your lineup.
It's so funny. Like I was just watching so hard on Tuesday, Wednesday of people, using those kind of buzzwords for Bryson. He's a lock for this, or like, dude, like he's absolutely top 5, no questions about it. He's a top 5. Fill in the other 5 guys and try to figure that. Brian Harman, you're saying you feel good about a top 10. You didn't say lock. You're not that guy.
Oh, I'll say lock. I'll call him like a sure thing. I'll guarantee it.
I guarantee it. No show next week because Craig guaranteed Brian Harman top 10.
Okay, so here is what I would say. So going back to since the match play where he absolutely killed it. He has 4 rounds where he's lost strokes.
Wow.
And he has never lost more than a stroke. Like his lowest one was he lost a stroke. So he's got like minus 0.42, minus 0.4. But he has, let's say, 20 something rounds where he's gained in that time. So it's just crazy how well he has been playing. He has only the PGA Championship that he's lost strokes over the course of the tournament since the Sony Open in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So it's really just crazy how well Brian Harman's playing. I think that the biggest shame is that he doesn't have a win in that time.
Yeah, it is kind of a shame. And his 4-putt at the US Open, that's also a shame, but
yeah, that one, I mean, it's a shame, especially because, for those guys, that costs a lot of money. There's a lot of money at the majors. He still ended up tied for 19th there. So you think, call that 4-putt a 2-putt. And
I just also can't believe how big his putter is. Like, it looks like as big as his shoe. Like, that mallet he uses, it's just unbelievable. So it's generally back and forth. Yeah, looking at
it's kind of like, when you're having to sweep into those little buckets. A dustpan on a stick, though, like the ones, we used to work at a movie theater, and you'd have to sweep up, and it's a big dustpan thing. Yeah, it's like a huge dustpan thing like that.
I think I've tried a golf swing with that back in my theater days.
I usually did it with the brooms, but that was me.
Yeah, fair. Of these top three, Berger, Im, Harman, I think Harman would be my play as well. Even like just kind of straight up.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about how popular it'll be, but I think, seeing Harman, Berger is the one that you're like, okay, I don't mind paying for him. He's a blue chip. Harman, people are like, but I do worry a little bit that his ownership will get high.
Yeah, you have 5 other spots to figure it out, so I'm not too worried about that really with anyone. Next up, Cam Davis coming off the win, gets bumped up to 10,100. I'm not going there because I don't like to go guys back to back. We haven't had a Brendan Todd in a while. But right below him is my player of interest up high. I'm going Russell Henley, 9,900. So just below, I think 5th there. Henley has 3 PGA Tour wins, Craig, 2 of which came at -20 or lower. So I think, he's not going to grind out that potentially that US Open type win. But if you need to get to -23 and he's on his on week, Henley's one of those guys that can get there. He's coming off 2 top 20, so he didn't play last week, but he has a top 20 at the Travelers, top 20 at the US Open. He's been positive strokes and putting in 3 of his last 4. I do think there's definitely putting correlation here. There's been quotes saying that this is kind of a putter's course, but picking putting is hard. Guys can just have great weeks, but he does have a trend of positive strokes and putting in 3 of his last 4. So I do like to see that where a guy who, kind of relies on his approach shots. That's kind of how he makes his hay. He's played here twice, 27th in 2014 and 2nd in 2019, the last time he was played. And that included a 61 on Sunday.
Yeah, I really like it. I think he's a fit. I think he's someone who is much more accurate than Long and has great approach play, which to me, that's the template for this course. Ultimately, I think the upside just depends. Russell Henley, it seems like he's one of these guys that can just throw away a lot of strokes, it seems like. But he also is one of these ones who, when he starts to play well, it seems it snowballs. Like all of a sudden his putter then gets hot. He's hitting good approach shots. I mean, he sort of hits good approach shots all the time. But once he starts to make a couple putts, it just snowballs, and he seems to carry momentum well. So I like the play a lot. I think he's someone who has tons of win potential here.
I mean, all of these guys, maybe top 5 for sure, top 8, top 10. He's maybe one of the most volatile. Like, even have guys like Streelman, Nod, Noren, kind of more veterans. He might be a little bit safer. I'd say Cam Davis, maybe coming off the win, is maybe a little bit more volatile. But I think Henley is. But I think when he's at his best, I kind of almost take him about against anyone in this field at their best, besides a handful, really.
Yeah, Streelman would be, so I think we'll kind of skim through this, but Streelman would be the one other guy. I like Henley as well. I have Harman as my player, but I like Henley as well. Streelman would be potentially the one other guy that I would take a long, hard look at here, depending on how many lineups I make. He'll probably get in one. He has been playing well. I think he's got a good history here. So there's a lot of things that kind of line up in his favor.
Yeah. I think Streelman's fine. Going down, your boy Alex Noren got a bump to 9,300, but he's playing well. The one that stands out is kind of an absurd pricing. Interested in your opinion here is Seamus Power, 9,000 for a PGA Tour for a full kind of FedEx Cup point PGA Tour event. Seamus Power is 9,000.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming in with a lot of heat. He's gained 4 straight top 20s, top 10 at the Byron Nelson, top 10 at the Rocket Mortgage. He's gained at least 1.18 strokes in 4 straight tournaments. So I get it. I get it.
It's just funny. Like I've watched a little bit less golf than I have this last couple of weeks than I have, the year leading up. So I haven't seen a lot of Seamus Power, and I don't know if a lot of people, I don't know if he's been in the broadcast a lot, but I don't know if a lot of people rostering him or even winning money off him have seen him play. Like it's kind of like a spreadsheet of him, like kind of going up, trending. But having watched golf for a couple decades, I don't think I can ever be convinced to pay $9,000 for Seamus Power.
I mean, I'm not going to be on him. This is a guy who missed the cut at a Corn Ferry tournament in March. So, but that said, he's playing great golf, and golf is a fickle sport. Like a lot of people, I think for golf fans, it's sort of a no-brainer that you see people come and go from streaks like this. But for people who come from other sports, where you're like, well, how can some guy be so good for 4 straight weeks and you still don't like him? Well, like, it's different. It's not like he's a all the running backs are good and he's going to get his opportunities. It's just like, it just can come and go so easily. Remember when Malnati just seemed to be on fire in the fall? It's just a fickle game.
He was making everything. Going down to 8Ks, anybody you want to talk about here?
No, I mean, so I don't have any players of interest here. There's people that I think will be in lineups for. Oh, well, it depends. So I think most of mine, I'm going to kind of go 2 of those players up high. So then probably I'll be going down into the 7Ks. Anyone in the 8Ks really jumping out at you?
Zach Johnson. This is another kind of looking at guys coming in, looking at their 30-day stats, their 3-month stats, or let's look at their career. Let's look at 2-year stats. And he hasn't been putting well, but he is a good putter, and so I'll play Zach Johnson. He won here in 2012.
I was going to say great course history. He won here in 2012. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 top 5s in a 9-year span at this event. So, if we were doing a horses for courses segment, he would be. Unfortunately, he'd probably still be second, but he would have an exceptional. Well, we'll get to why he's second, but
he jumps out. Doc Redman is still calling my name. I think I'm just kind of long term on him, but I don't know if I'll get there this week. I mean, kind of same. I mean, 2 guys that we were big fans of, Redman and Doug Gim, are right there, low 8s.
Yeah.
You're okay?
Maybe a little duel, maybe a little USAM rematch duel.
USAM rematch, I like it.
Yeah, no, I'd say to me, Zach Johnson is the guy that stands out the most. He we saw him play very well through the fall. He was on a crazy cut streak for a while, and then it's been a little bit hit or miss. But he seems to. There's glimpses. He kind of has to put it all together, but we're seeing glimpses of good play from him. So going to a course where he is very comfortable, I think that's an attractive play.
Okay, so into the high 7s, kind of teasing a little bit here, Craig. Your player of interest.
Yeah, my player of interest. The horse for the course, because there's no one coming close. Back-to-back winner in 2009, 2010, 2011. Senior. No, we don't call it the senior PGA anymore. What do we call it? The PGA Championships. PGA Champions. Steve Stricker. I love the play. 7,700 seems a little bit expensive until you look at the field and you realize how well Stricker has been playing. So it's a combination of course history. I don't think the things that he doesn't do well, mainly distance, you don't need to do that here anymore. So I think he is potentially the best value in the whole slate. You get rid of his Champions Tour stuff, which has been great of recent.
Yep, it has been. Yep.
You look, even just his PGA, he's made cuts in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his last 6. He had a top 5 at the Waste Management. So that's ignoring, multiple wins on the Senior Tour. I just think that you're going to a place where he's won 3 years in a row. He's playing good golf. I think signs are pointing to it being a good play. Now, the question obviously is going to be ownership, but I'll take the ownership hit here.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think, again, kind of if you're just looking at, you log on, you click on his name in DraftKings and you see his log and you're like, oh, nothing's really popping out here. But yeah, the Senior Players Championship, he dominated that. And those guys, I mean, yeah, 50 plus. But remember, we also had a 50 plus guy just win a major championship in Phil Mickelson. Like, these guys aren't just rolling over for him. We're talking about Fred Couples, Ernie Els, Jim Furyk, that he beat by 10 strokes at the Bridgestone Senior Players Championship. Like, Steve Stricker is playing very good golf right now.
Yeah.
I was invested in that because he was part of my parlay that week. If you're wondering why I know a lot about Steve Stricker recently, it's because he was part of my parlay. Yeah, I love the play. I think it's as safe as you can get. I think, that being said, I feel like I have to knock on wood because I just jinxed him, but I absolutely love the play.
He hasn't missed a cut here since 2003. Yeah. I mean, 3 straight wins, 4 other top 10s. There's just,
and that's the thing. I feel like he's playing better golf now than he has been.
I thought you were gonna say that he was playing.
In the last 3 years.
So I mean, 2018 maybe would be the last time you could argue that he was playing better.
Right.
But yeah. Anyways, you've got another guy. Oh no, I guess he's a ways down. Anyone else in sort of the higher 7K range that you're taking a hard look at?
No one here. Your boy Mito is back here at 76. Any interest going right back there after a miscut?
I don't think so. Fool be twice, that whole business. There's a couple guys that I'm looking at 75, and this is where I don't know how far into the weeds we want to get, but to me, I think Tom Lewis might be a bit of a sneaky play.
Yep.
He's coming off a 25th at Rocket Mortgage. I think he's someone that he just has upside potential, in my opinion. So in a field like this, maybe that's a place to go. And then Ches is someone who I've ping ponged. I was burned by him a bit this week. He was one of those guys that missed a cut that hurt my lineups. But it should be a good course fit for him. So he's another guy in the 7K range that I'm taking a long, hard look at.
And he played well, for sure. I mean, U.S. Open qualifiers to get into the U.S. Open. I think he played really well in his qualifier there.
Yeah, I mean, he essentially, before missing the cut last week, he had 3 good weeks. I mean, he was 40th at the U.S. Open, but that's not that bad of a result for him. He did that on the back of not great putting. So the putting is really the question mark with him right now, which is unfortunate because he can roll sometimes.
Yeah, kind of concerning. Okay, if we're going to low 7s here, I got a guy that I just kind of focused on, and I think is going to be completely underowned. I'm going CT Pan here, Craig. 7,200. He's my player of interest, my low player of interest here. So right around him, first off, I like this. You got Brandon Hagee, Neesmith, Nick Taylor, Chesson Hadley. I think guys that might get some more eyes than CT Pan. I don't think CT Pan's going to get a lot of eyes. Well, the spear's going down the wrong tube here. I'm going to try to power through it, though. So Pan made cuts in 4 of his last 5 events. He played here once in 2018, finished 34th. Arguably kind of playing the pretty similar golf to that time span, like kind of making cuts, but in the 20s, 30s, 40s. So kind of similar. A little bit higher. He had a little bit higher official golf ranking then, but I think pretty similar to coming in there. He is a PGA Tour winner, having won the RBC Heritage in 2019. And then something we did a lot on our picks and sleepers show. So he ranks 46th in pricing. So remember the number 46th. If we look at the stroke scene total number ranks for this field, if we look at the past 3 months, he ranks 26th. So it's value, he's kind of trending in the right direction. If we go pull back a little bit further to the last 6 months, he ranks 34th. So still better than his 46th. And if you go even to the past year, the past 12 months, he ranks 36th. So still 10 places better than where he's ranked. And that's kind of what I thought when I was first scrolling down. We got this PGA Tour event with a lot of guys with, maybe less than a handful or a couple seasons under their belt of experience.
Speculative.
Yeah, speculative. CT Pan here has made 4 of his last 5 cuts. He's 7,200. He probably should be closer priced to the 75-ish hundred. So I think it's a little bit of value. Am I, squeeze in a little bit of the stone of value? Sure, a little bit. But, I mean, this is a PGA Tour winner making 80% of his last, 5 cuts. It's risky, but I think he'll go completely kind of overlooked.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about him a whole lot, but I agree with the things you're saying. I think he is also someone who clearly has upside potential. We saw him third at the Honda Classic. He was 7th at the Masters in 2019. So, in 2020,
the wet one,
the weird
one.
Masters. But yeah, no, I like it. I don't know. I mean, it'll depend on how many lineups I'm making. But yeah, no, I've got no problem with that one.
And I think it allows you, it's still, we're recording this Monday night. We don't know exactly what ownership is going to be like. I haven't heard his name yet. But I think it allows you to do things up top or in the middle with some of the other guys we talked about.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone down deeper that you've looked at all?
I think I just made one lineup so far, and I think the lowest I went was CT Pan. So I don't really know if I've looked this low, to be honest. I'm scrolling.
So this is I as well made one lineup. The lowest that I have gone, and this is I don't know how much I like this play. This one may end up changing. I might not keep it in there, but Jim Herman at 7,000.
I respect that. He's playing good golf.
So he's got a 26 at Memorial and the 25th at Travelers. He really hasn't done, like, if you look at since his win in the fall, late summer, I guess is August, he really has done next to nothing. But maybe there's a little bit of form coming in there in a weak field. So he also, if accuracy over distance, he is more that kind of guy. So there's rare times that I'll click on someone who has made 8 of 18 cuts. But yeah, I think Herman might make lineups for me this week.
He's interesting. I mean, scrolling down here, mid sixes, no one's really popping out. Vince Whaley, Ben Martin, maybe at 6,800.
I followed you on Ben Martin last week. That didn't work out so well.
Yeah, maybe I just avoid this altogether. I mean, it's going to be...
This is where, some of these guys are going to, just on this type of course, some of these people are going to make some noise. It's just very, very tough to pick anyone from this.
And this is where I might say, and this might be a segue, but if you're looking, to kind of hone in your TFS roster building skills and you want to do 20 lineups, let's say, it might be a better week to go over to Scotland and do 20 lineups there because you're going to see more guys there playing the Open than I think 5 guys or so are qualified for the Open in this John Deere Classic.
Yeah.
So something to think about, but the contests are bigger, so that always draws people, usually suckers like me.
Maybe on that note, should we flippity flop over?
Yeah, let's do that. Where are we? Aberdeen Scottish Open. Sponsor's name is now Aberdeen. I don't know if you saw that. Took out all the value.
Are they insurance?
I think so. Vowels. That's what I was trying to say. They took out all the vowels. We're at the Renaissance Club here, Craig. Just to the, looking at my compass, east of Edinburgh, I believe. Hosted the last 2 Scottish Opens, par 71, very similar yardage, 7,293 to the one in the US. But looking, and I forgot to pull up the history again, Craig.
So this is in Berwick, isn't it? Yeah. So this is actually it's near where one of the first golf courses was, which is cool.
That is cool. This is a new course though.
It's the Renaissance.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, recent winners here. The last 2, Bernd Wiesberger, 2019, Aaron Rye. Ray?
And it was at... Did you already mention
those 2 courses?
Sorry?
Those 2 courses for those ones. Is that what you're going to say?
Well, no, with 2019, it was at the Renaissance Club.
And 2020, yeah. The last 2 editions of this one.
Oh, okay.
At Renaissance.
Yeah, the Wikipedia just said 2019, so I hadn't been paying attention to the 2020. I guess the 2020 would have been a bit different because you wouldn't have had people traveling there to play before the Open.
Yeah, I think I'm right, but
no, I think you. So just on the Renaissance Club's site, Wikipedia page,
gotcha.
They just have it. Probably just hasn't been updated since 2019.
Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, but flipping over there, talking about this field, we got John Rahm. I'm just going down DraftKings order here. John Rahm, Morikawa, Rory, Xander, JT, Scotty Scheffler, Fitzpatrick, Zalatoris, Hatton, Bez, Fleetwood. Like, all right, we got some stars here. We got some stars in the 9Ks and 8Ks here.
Yeah, like you can come over here and get JT cheaper than you can get Brian Harmon over at the John Deere.
I know, right? Isn't that absurd? So okay, I don't know if this is going to spill into you or into Open strategy or what, but what are you looking at for this one? It's going to be an interesting.
So what I'm looking at essentially from a DFS point of view, I think I'm going to potentially go balanced, look for 1 or 2 players in the 9Ks, and then I think a lot of people are going to flock to Rahm, Morikawa, Rory, Xander. I think there's going to be a lot of ownership up there. It's hard to get away from John Rahm right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very hard. So I'm just going to essentially count on, I hope enough people feel like you need to plug Rahm in because he's just a stud that's on fire. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to go balanced. I think I'm going to try to get as many, I'll talk about a player interest here in a sec, but I think
plugging in the Bezes and the
plugging in
dummies.
Someone in kind of the 9Ks and then trying to keep the bottom of your lineup as high as you can, and then hope that more of these regular European Tour players and whatnot can perform well against these guys who are just coming over there to kind of get their warm up round in, some competitive reps on links courses before the Open.
Yeah. A couple thoughts for me. So I'll probably do the opposite of that. The other one I would say is we've been doing Euro content for as long as we've been around. We love the European Tour content. Our Discord has a European Tour, what's it called? Channel. Channel. So there's a lot of good chatter there. And I think there's definitely benefits to having tracked it for a while. That being said, these contests are bigger than a typical European Tour contest. So maybe more casual eyes coming, looking for the familiar names, the names they recognize. Mm-hmm. So maybe they might have more ownership, but also less so with guys like JT. JT's the only one that's sticking out, but JT's come over a few times, played a few Opens, half dozen Opens or so. He's come over the week before typically and played this event. But guys coming over, kind of for the first time, looking at this Scotty Scheffler, Zalatoris, Corey Connors, Sam Burns, those are going to be avoids for me. I think they're going to try to figure out more so kind of the style of play, the link
those are
style
avoids
play.
For you.
Those are avoids for me. I think these, Canadians, Americans that maybe don't have really as much roots in the UK or links golf are going to be guys I avoid because I think this really is more about a stress test, a warm-up test prior to the Open rather than, I know how to play here. I'm Bezuidenhout and I've dominated, he has dominated. That was in South Africa as well, but Bobby McIntyre, Ian Poulter, Keimer, like they have their legs under them with link style golf. They know what they're doing. Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to, Ryan Palmer is another instance of a guy, I would have to check how many Opens he's played. Does he have that link style with him?
That Texas golf, is it that different?
He's Texas wedge. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe, he's putting from everywhere.
No, I hear you. That said, I think, if I'm picking a winner, I'm picking John Rahm.
Oh yeah. I didn't name Rahm as one of those guys.
I know, but it's just, I can't get away from how good a golf that guy's playing. And it just, he's, yeah.
So we need to have a thing for a comment this week, and I didn't run this by you, but I think our thing should be pick your winners, the doubleheader.
Okay.
Okay, so let's let that sink in while we kind of talk through the DFS for the Euro. But that's what we're going to ask. Comment below. Winner of the two, we're going to, try to get something that's like, if you add up their positional points, it's like less than 10. We got a second and a sixth. I think that'll be really good. That'll be impressive. Or a first and a first.
Yeah, I was just going to pick the winners of the both.
But that being said, with those Zalatoris's, those Corey Connor Sanborns, there's probably going to be some of them that do very well. But
for sure. So do we want to talk through a little bit the top of this field? That's kind of what I was getting at with when I was saying John Rahm's going to win. He's priced accordingly. He's 11,500. So you have to sacrifice to get him in. But if I were to be playing someone up here, I think I would probably play him and over a Morikawa or Rory.
Yes. I have another guy up there. The one thing I was going to add, though, so we have 2 editions of this course, trying to do some research. The winning score in 2019 was minus 22. And looking at the weather, there's a weather tower right there, kind of beside the course. It looks pretty calm the entire time. So I think these guys are going to be able to attack it. So with that, I am looking more at approach players and just kind of really talented guys, less so than the grinders necessarily. But that being said, Rahm, Morikawa, Xander, JT, I guess Rahm is the best player right now.
To me, I could see, if I was making 20 lineups, I would be looking a lot more seriously at the top here. I could see, I just have a hard time, I think, with Morikawa. I think if I'm going to be paying 11-1 for him, I just want to play 11-5. I think once you get down to Rory, Xander, or JT, and then to me, once you leave JT, then I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not going to have JT at 10-3, I want to go down a ways to get a discount. But that's sort of like, if I'm going to spend, I don't want to spend 11-1 on Morikawa, because I'll just spend up and get to Rahm. And then I do think that tier of Rory, Xander, JT, all within $400 of each other in the mid 10,000s. To me, I'm like, okay, I see that being decent value. But then after that, you kind of have to drop down a little ways.
Yeah, that leads in. I'm going to go with my player of interest here. Justin Thomas, 10,300. So basically,
no, I like it. I almost played
last time. I think he was my player of interest, or on the show. It was at the Players Championship. Not saying he's necessarily going to win this one, but hey, player of interest.
But you're not saying he's not going to win either.
I'm not saying he's not going to win. But it's getting close to that point where it's like, why are we disrespecting him again? Because, well, he hasn't been playing great golf, but 5th in this field, right above Scotty Scheffler. There's not just like a tier there. There's a huge cliff. We're talking about from Justin Thomas to Scotty Scheffler. Like, give me a break. They're only giving $300 difference here. One of the best players in the world. He's also below Xander and Rory, which, I mean, you could say have questionable form as well. Rahm is the clear number 1, but Morikawa, Rory, Xander, JT, throw them up in the air, pick one. I'm going to pick the guy who's cheapest.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I thought you were going to try to say that, like, Rory, Xander being above him is absurd. Toss him up. Yeah, I agree with that. JT has not had great form. Like, I think that's the one, the reason he is priced where he is, and not say where Morikawa is that his form has not been good for JT, so like that's for the guy that we think of as I think he's number 3 right now in the world, who at times we think of as a potential number 1. So I think that's the reason that he is in 5th place in this field in terms of pricing. But that said, JT can turn it on and win at any point. Yeah.
So I didn't even get to my notes then. I was just ranting there a little bit about JT. My notes, I guess I talked about him being only 5th priced. But 2019, his appearance here in the Scottish Open at this course, he was 9th. I like that because he doesn't have a lot of links golf, but he has, outside of the majors, and they include the WGCs on the European Tour website. I think the Scottish Open is the only other one that he's played before the week before the Open. Again, all about that approach, greens and regulation. I think that's what I'm looking for this course. Can go low, like that winning score in 2019. And then the one thing on his form, he has been positive strokes and putting in 3 of his last 4 tournaments. And that is what every announcer will get on him about if we're showing JT kind of highlights, is he isn't converting these. And yeah, he might have that expectation of converting a lot more of them than the average player, but he has been better than possibly the perception is of him, gaining strokes in 3 of the last 4 tournaments on the greens.
Yeah, I mean, so I think essentially my argument for why I would play JT. So let me do my argument for why I wouldn't first.
Okay.
Since the Players' Championship, he has 8 starts. His best finish in that time is 13th. Which is not great. I mean, you know, you could look at his starts and be like, if this wasn't JT, then yeah, it'd be decent, you know. His last 4 starts, he has, you know, Memorial, he gained 0.89 on approach. His next best one is 0.1 he gained at the Schwab, and then 0 at the US Open. So like his ball striking does not seem to be great. He, in that time, he's lost off the tee in 2 of them. He's gained on 2 of them. So I think you can make a lot of arguments based on form as to why you shouldn't be picking JT. This is why he's priced where he is. The argument as to why I would. So, yeah. Players' Championship. It was you know, so I guess, so US Open, the 20th of June. We haven't seen him since then.
Yes. Yeah.
He's one of these guys. So say Century Tournament of Champions, little bit of a layoff, comes back. He was a lot more in that tournament than we remember, because he kind of, at least I kind of remember Harris English and Neiman as the takeaways in the playoff. But he was 3rd there. Yep. Had a bit of a break before the Players' Championship. Won that. So like I think JT is one of these guys that when he, you know, we'll remember him not being in good form, but we're forgetting about the fact that he's probably spent every moment since the US Open grinding to try to get ready for the Open Championship. So that would be my argument for playing, is we're getting him at the discount on his bad form, not accounting for what form he has practiced himself into. And so, yeah, like I like the JT pick, I think.
I completely agree with everything you've said. And I think you've talked yourself into it a little bit. The one thing I would add, though, is if he's being streaky in a category, I'd rather him be streaky in putting, because if Rory is losing strokes off the tee, I'm pretty confident that Rory's going to find his driver again. That's how I feel with JT and his approach play.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, yeah, he's 0 at US Open and +1 at Charles Schwab. That's fine. I mean, that's almost his bare minimum. I think he's lost strokes in 2, and neither of them were more than 0.2. So that will come around. So yeah, I think it's just kind of sure, price him down there. I'll slot him in. If you think he's cold, sure, I'll play him.
Yeah. I also think it's just you know, DFS, we're not just looking to pick the people we think have the best chances. We're also playing against the people who are in the same pool as us. Yeah. And so exactly. JT, I don't think he's going to attract the same ownership. I just have a feeling that Rahm is going to be very heavy, because he's just been such a stud. I think Rahm's going to attract a lot of ownership, and that doesn't let you play a lot of these next guys. And then because it's Rory playing in, you know, in Great Britain, I think that will still attract ownership. So potentially JT is maybe the forgotten guy, but tough to tell, tough to know.
Yeah. Okay, moving on from 10Ks here. It's a strong field. 9Ks. Fitzpatrick, Zalatoris, Hatton, Bez, Fleetwood, Corey Connors. that price in Corey Connors is kind of, he was 7,000-ish, I think, at the Masters. How far he's come.
Yeah. And unfortunately, with his last few weeks, it doesn't feel like it's that great of a value as much as he's our Canadian boy.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of your boys here, Craig, both Bez, Zalatoris, Patrick, you love to play him back. What do you think about this area? So you thinking this is where you might start lineups possibly?
So, yeah, it depends on, so the one that I have done so far, my player of interest so far starts at Tyrrell Hatton. I think you can make a really good argument that 9,400 for Tyrrell Hatton. So we got JT at 10-3, Scheffler, Fitzpatrick, I could almost talk myself into at 98. Zalatoris, I don't love his form right now, and then there's some question marks with him going over there for the first time. Blah blah blah. Hatton at 94 seems like the last player of a value. Like I love Bez, but to get Tyrrell Hatton for $100 more than Bez, that seems a little bit cheap to me. I feel like I'll pay that price. We have seen a mishmash from him. The putter has not been great recently, which is not typical for, at least when I think of Tyrrell Hatton, I think of a strong putter, and I think that's reflected in the stats. He's lost in 3 of his last 4. I think that can be a situation where going back to the type of courses that you kind of came up on can be a good way for you to get it back. Teed Green, though, he's been good. So, aside from the U.S. Open where he missed the cut, his last time losing strokes over the course of a tournament was the Masters in November. So he has played well, despite the poor putting in some of the, he was tied for second at the Palmetto. I mean, the Palmetto was the Palmetto. It wasn't necessarily the strongest field, but he was tied for second there while losing almost a stroke around putting. Yeah. So it's just, there's a lot of things in his game that are very good. And to me, what that brings is, I think Hatton has a ton of win equity. So, at 9,400, the way his approach game especially, but just generally his teed green game has been, if he does get some feel back in his putter, I think he can go out there and win. So, has a good history here.
I like it. I like Hatton. I think you actually got Hatton in here before I got my guy in here, because I was looking at Hatton a little bit. I think he's one of these guys. Haven't seen him since the U.S. Open. I think when we go across the pond, it's a European Tour event. I think like his chest is his posture gets a little bit better. Like he's been here. He knows like, okay, Zalatoris, you've been playing pretty good, but now we're in my territory kind of deal. Like I've played here. I grew up here. I can get it done here. Another guy who I think the time off from the U.S. Open, kind of like we were saying with JT, it's just good. Reset the putter, approach play will come back. I really like Hatton. I think Hatton's
you look at the last 3 months, last 6 months in this field. Teed Green. Guess who is top 2?
Rahm.
Yeah. So top 2 flips back and forth between Morikawa and Rahm, depending on which interval. But then Tyrrell Hatton's 3 in both. So for a guy who's not who typically gains putting, that's a pretty good place to be. So ultimately it's going to come down to the putter, and the potential upside if he is putting well is just huge to me.
Yeah, I like it. A lot of guys here to like. Let's go maybe into AKs. Anyone jumping out here? Bobby Mack, one of Kevin's boys, on a tear. Looks interesting there, but also right above Higo.
Right above Higo.
Yeah.
You're talking Brandon Grace?
No, I was saying Robert. Okay, he's not right above. He's above.
I was gonna say, because Brandon Grace is my sneaky play here. I think Brandon Grace is gonna be totally overlooked. For some reason,
I literally just did.
Yeah, I think he's going to be super, super sneaky, but he's playing really, really good golf. But no one really is paying attention to it because, it's Brandon Grace. You don't really think of it. He's not the first person to come to mind. So do you want to get into Bobby Mack?
No, he wasn't even. I was just scrolling through guys, and I just decided to pass over Grace.
So Grace, last 2 tournaments, he was 4th at Memorial, 7th at U.S. Open. He withdrew from Charles Schwab, but he had the win in Puerto Rico earlier. He had a string of made cuts, kind of not great, but good. I just think to me, he's going to attract 0 eyeballs. And this is where, if you start low 9s, you can plug in some of these guys, and then I think that gives you a ton of upside win potential in big GPPs.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I just thought his price was kind of crazy, but
it is a little bit crazy. But
so I think those are valid points, and he has been playing very, very well. Higo, Herbert coming off a win. Interesting there. I actually think the guy right below Herbert is a little bit interesting to me, and this might be kind of a homer that I kind of stick with a little bit. It was Martin Keimer here.
I thought you were going to skip another one below again and talk about Poulter, but
no,
I agree on Keimer.
Second at the BMW. If I'm looking at
good US Open.
Good US Open. If I'm just looking at approach and greens and regulation, you have to look at Keimer, I think, a little bit. And he's been on fire with his irons as of late. 1.83 the US Open where he's 26, 1.5 per round at the BMW, then just 0.48, but still really good at the Irish Open where he's 41st. Putting well as well. I think he's streaky. I think he's kind of, I forget the last one where I mentioned him. I feel like it was actually a PGA Tour event, maybe like a Puerto Rico or something that he's playing, but I think he's battling to get back to the player he once was, and we're seeing his ball striking look fairly good, and that has interest for me for sure.
Yep, good history. I think. I mean, good event history.
He's won here, but it was a different course.
Yeah, that's where it's tough to know. But he was 20th here in 2019, so good result there. I mean, obviously not great result, but the other one, I do think Poulter's a good play at 83. He's been playing very good golf, and he has success here. So again, he does have success actually here. But he has a lot of success in the early 2000s in the Scottish Open. But I don't know. I mean, translate that however you'd like. I just really, so this is where, to me, I think that you can hammer this area if you avoid jumping into the 10s or 11s. I think you can really take advantage and sort of fill out your lineup with a lot of value here.
Yeah, it's just an interesting, it kind of gives me like kind of throwback type, 2018, 2017 vibes as I look at Westwood, Peters, Beef, Johnston, Molinari. Like, this is like, it's cool. I feel like I'm playing a retro game this week a little bit.
Yeah, now the last one here, I think in the 8K to talk about, Guido.
Yeah.
Do you think he's a play? Do you think he's a void because of the hype? What do you...
Yeah, so I think he's a player for sure, but he's a not play for me because of the hype. The hype is unbelievable. I mean, a guy that we respect with his zero takes all the time, Skyhook DFS has been, hyping Guido and playing him and has success and a lot of followers. So there's a lot of people I think have been watching him and kind of tailing along with him for that. Yeah, it's been like exceptional, but I think he might be that uber chalk in this range.
Yeah, so I agree on both counts, sort of. I agree that he's going to be very popular, but I also I don't know if this is the point you were making, but him being a player, like I think he is a player, and I think he's a player who's in form. 4 straight really good results, and so that's where I think I am going to take shots with him as part of what I hope is a contrarian build with the balanced lineup approach. So I hope that, a lot of people, because he is very high profile right now. So a lot of people who are they're plugging in a Rory or a Xander, and then they're plugging in a Hatton as their second guy in. Then this is their third, and then they're going down after that, but if I'm just going fully balanced, I think it's going to be a bit of a contrarian play. So that's where maybe I take the chalk there and hope that some of those other plays I'm making are different.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is U.S. Open was really cool Sunday. He was dropping bombs, but a guy that I'll flag, I'm gonna flag him and watch him for a bit, and then a miscut, a T25, a miscut, then coming into the match play or something criminally underpriced and under and then you look at him again, or a PGA Championship or something where we forgot about him a little bit, but oh no, this guy's got game a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I avoided him after the U.S. Open because his Sunday was unreal, holing out chips and all the things. He gained 5 strokes around the greens over the course of the tournament. But he has 4 straight tournaments. He's gained both on approach and off the tee, and the gains on approach are pretty darn good. So I think that I think he's just a good up and coming player who is on a very good streak. And so I'm going to that's why I think it'll be worth a shot here. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. But that being said, player of interest for you, Craig, the lower play. So we had our high, we had JT and Hatton. Your low player of interest, who you got here?
So I'm going Matthias Schwab. I think that it just seems like value. So he's priced at 7,500. He's around Harding, Scrivener, Aaron Rye, Otegi, a guy whose name I always get wrong. I think Otegi. I just think I think he's a better player than people are sort of than the respect he's getting right now. I mean, a couple of not great results in his last 2, the Porsche and the BMW, a couple of nice cars. But going back to late March, so second event in Kenya, 7th, 8th, 33rd, 11th, 8th, and then 45th and 29th in his last 2. So I mean, top 50 in 8 straight there, but then also 4 top 10s and 11th in that time. So it just seems like he's been putting out pretty consistently good results. And I think has had a year that hasn't been great compared to where I think I sort of see his career trajectory going. So I'm kind of long-term bullish on him and just think that he's priced a little bit underpriced here.
So if this might not be fair, but if we're talking to an audience now that hasn't played much Euro, how do you feel about this comparison, Craig? Keegan Bradley? Looking at that,
I see where you're going. I don't know. I mean, he's got the very strong approach play, and then the weak putter. So
his approach, 6 of his last 7, I want to say, per round, 6 of the last 7 events, 0.91 strokes gain approach or better. Most of them over 1, some 1.44 per round. Like, it's absurd. He's gaining some events putting, but he's actually not losing a ton, and that's why it might not be fair. It's minus 0.14. minus 0.36. Like he's losing putting, but it's not a ton.
There's been a few events where he's had big loss putting this year. So like on the season, he's averaging minus 0.5. But there's a few events where he has big losses, and then it seems like he just is sort of losing a lot of the time. The other thing I think about that, so I was looking at this recently. I think some of these guys, I think there might be a bit of a natural correlation between high approach strokes gain players and volatile putting strokes gain. Because I think, so if you hit it into, a green in regulation where it is about a 2-putt, your strokes gain approach isn't going to be as high, but then you make kind of a routine 2-putt. That's good. And every once in a while you make that. So, you gain. But if you're hitting shots into this, you should be kind of maybe about 1.3, 1.4. Like you should be making this enough of the time, but then a 2-putt's not good. A 1-putt would be good. You're making it into that 1.5 strokes gained putting from here in area. It's a very volatile, like you're either going to gain a half stroke or you're going to lose. And most of the time those putts don't go. So I just think that as I was looking more and more at why it seemed to be these correlations between these numbers, I think that these people who are hitting it into that, 10 to 15 foot range consistently more than other players, I think you're seeing them have more volatile strokes gain putting numbers.
Yeah, I think it's around 30 feet on approach where they're expecting exactly two putts from. So if you hit it to 28 feet and you have 2 putts, you might gain like fractionally strokes gain putting. And then there's another absurd stat where, per round, PGA pros are only making like on average 1 putt over 12 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's much less than you think, because we watch golf and we see that. Sometimes we watch feature groups and we see everything, but for the most part we see cut to this person making a putt, because that's the only reason we're showing that.
Yeah. So if you're hitting it to, 14 feet every time, that's fantastic. And you only hit one putt or so. Yeah. It's volatile for sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Okay. We're running a little bit long here. We're doing 2 tournaments though. Before we dip into the 6Ks, where my low one is here, anyone else you want to talk about?
Nah, I mean, I'm looking higher up for the most part. I think, as I start to build more lineups, maybe I'll look down here, but I really think I'm going to try to do as much balanced as I can.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so my low play here, I picked him once before. I'm going to go back. Maverick Ancliff, 6,700. I think he's not going to get any ownership. Casual players aren't going to play him. Even if you watch a lot of European Tour golf, I don't think you're going to play him. But I think he's priced too low. He's Aussie. Keep the good times going for the Aussie. We talked about how well he played. I think it was in the China Tour back in the day, and he got a ton of wins. He has made cuts in 3 of his last 4 tournaments, all in the European Tour. So, pretty good fields. He's made 3 of the last 4 cuts. He was 36 here last year. So he's played the course. He's played it well. And he kind of follows the trend of the JTs, the Martin Keimers I was talking about. He's a great approach player. So just, last week, T28 gained 1.19 on approach at the Irish Open. So good form coming in, but looking at his stats here, he's gained over 1 in half of his tournaments, it seems like, of his last 10.
Yeah, really good approach ball striking numbers for him.
So I like that. That's kind of the profile I'm building for this tournament. He has a T11 at the Porsche Open, a 2nd in the Canary Islands, but there's also missed cuts. If you go back far enough, he's making cuts 60-75% of the time. Yeah.
So to me, I would say high risk, high reward, but also someone, if you do look at playing showdowns, definitely someone that type of play typically lends itself to high potential in showdowns.
Absolutely. And the other one too, again, Monday night, if you look, depending where you live in the world, the Wednesday and the wind is changing and he's in the bad draw, maybe you ditch him for kind of a different bill, or he's not the right person, in a tougher draw, or doesn't have other things going for him. But yeah, my player of interest, Maverick Ancliff, 6,700. I think it's low. I think he has a ton of upside, as much as anyone I can see in the 6Ks. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah. Now, I think we're pretty close to wrapping it up here. So I just wanted to pass on the good news. I did pull into first in the fantasy race to Dubai. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't. No, I didn't see after this week.
So I had, I think it was either 1 week or a couple weeks in a row. I hadn't gotten or it was just a week after. It was the week after the US Open. I didn't get because it closes so early. It closes at midnight. So it's like 4 p.m. my time, the day before the tournament. So if you kind of think of, I got to get my stuff together, maybe the night before a tournament starts, you're too late already. But our mom has a fantasy team in there, and she's been closing the gap for a long time. So I had to start start grinding a little bit more. And I spiked Herbert last week. So
nice.
That was a good one. Yeah, it opened up a little bit of breathing room, but she's still coming. She's into third now.
Oh man, she's relentless. She is an amazing fantasy player, no matter what sport. She learns it and she plays it. Okay. Comment below. I just hit my desk there. I hope it still sounds okay.
You're good. Yeah.
Comment below. Your 2 picks to win. I want to hear guys that you think pick to win, but top 5, top 10. Gonna do that parlay. Who you got, Craig?
So like, are we just? I'm gonna go Harman and Rahm. I think.
Harman and Rahm. Okay.
Just straight up, I think those are the 2 people who are going to win the tournaments.
I'm going to go... It's actually weird because I'm going with one of yours. Give me Steve Stricker. And Justin Thomas.
I like it. That'd be awesome, Steve Stricker.
And Justin Thomas.
I had a nice PGA win here.
Yeah, he's one of your picks, but I really like him this week as well.
Yeah.
Good form, good course history. I like it. Okay, Craig, I think that's our show. Thank you for listening. We went a little bit long. We do have the Open next week, so make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our Open Championship content.
Yeah, likely I think we're going to start pumping some stuff out later this week as soon as we get some pricing and we chat with our older brother about when he wants to do some preview stuff here.
Thank you for listening. Comment below, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. If you just watch on YouTube, go to the podcast app, download it, subscribe. That all helps us. Ending that here, Craig, it's going to be a good week.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now. Where I am, basically, we're dodging fires every day. So wherever you are out there, be safe, be kind to those around you because you never know what's going on in their lives. And yeah, all the best to y'all.
I like it. Good luck. See you next week.
See you guys.